Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Safeguarding Your Data in the New Normal webinar. My name is Bobby Claudio, and I will be your moderator for this session. Let me just remind everybody that this session will be recorded, and before we start our fun in learning, let's have a quick check-in. Could everyone please say hi and shout out what organization you are from and where you are coming from in our chat box. Please do that now. Okay, let me just check our chat box. So we have people from Bacolod, from Batangas, from GMA, Quezon City, Davao. Hello, everyone. And I also heard that someone is watching us from Dallas, Texas. Welcome. Okay, welcome, everybody. It's a very good turnout. And thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, so please make sure that if you do send your messages later, to send it to everyone so that we can see if there are any concerns or feedback about the webinar. Okay, all right. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a good turn-in. And before we proceed, let us just introduce our company. So who is Trend Micro? Trend Micro is a cybersecurity company that's been around for more than 30 years, leading the market with continuous innovations in virtualization, cloud, artificial intelligence, and IoT. Trend Micro has customers across the top Fortune 500, including 8 of the top 10 global Fortune 500. We are made up of around 6,700 plus trenders who are passionate about making the world a safer and better place for everyone. Okay, and now for some reminders for our webinar. Here you see that there are tools that we can use, that you can use to communicate with us. You'll see both the chat and the Q&A buttons at the bottom of your screen. Please use the chat section if you need to send us any feedback during the webinar, which is what I mentioned earlier. The Q&A section is where you send in your questions, and you can post them anytime throughout the webinar, but in order to manage our limited time, they will be answered at the end. Basic questions will be answered via chat, and the others will be answered live during the Q&A. Please include the slide number in your questions so we can reply to them faster. We also use the upvote feature of Zoom. If you have the same question, just click on the like button, and the questions with the most number of likes will be prioritized during the Q&A portion. Our speaker will be joined by our subject matter experts, Nats and Myla, who will help respond to your questions. You may also add more details to the question by using the comment button as well. A polling question will be posted from time to time, and a separate window will pop up to show the poll. Select your answer from the list and then click submit. The results of the poll will be shown after. Just click close when you're done viewing the results. At the end of the webinar, you'll automatically be routed to a survey form. Kindly take the time to answer this short survey. Your feedback is very valuable to us and will help us improve our succeeding webinars. And those who answer the survey, I repeat, those who answer the survey will receive a certificate of attendance for this webinar via email 1 week after this session. So you need to answer the survey if you want to get this certificate of attendance. Access to the recording of this session, key takeaways, and succeeding webinar schedules will be announced in our Facebook pages at Trend Micro Careers Philippines and Click Right PH. That's at Trend Micro Careers Philippines and Click Right PH. You can also send us a message if you want to request a topic you want us to cover in our next webinar. So please like and follow our pages. Okay, so it's now time to meet our speaker. Jonalyn Alere, also known as Jonah, is a senior systems engineer, consumer technical specialist. She was a collaboration project manager for consumer Windows, Mac and Windows 10S, and Chromebook security, vulnerability response engineer for consumer products, and former support champion for IoT security. So ladies and gentlemen, I now introduce to you our speaker, Jonah. I'm going to stop my share so you can start sharing your presentation.
Thanks, Bob. Let me now share my screen. I'd like to check first, Bob, can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
All right, thanks. So good morning, everyone. As Bob mentioned, my name is Jonah, and I'll be your speaker for today. But before we start, let me just show you guys and to prove to you that we're coming in live, let me turn on my video. Hi guys. So to save on bandwidth, we'll just be using audio for the entire presentation. I'll now be turning off my video. Okay, so for today, I'll be discussing with you safeguarding your data privacy in the new normal. So I know and I believe that most of our attendees today are teachers. Some are students coming from different institutions. We also have guests from different industries. So we're looking forward for this webinar to help you have an idea on how to secure your data and your students' data as well, and how to properly manage them. Let me start off by asking you a question. What was your daily life like before the pandemic period? By the way, hindi po pala natin need na i-type in our answers in the question or the chat box below. I just want you to imagine or reminisce. Paano nga ba yung day-to-day life natin bago nagkaroon ng COVID-19 pandemic? So while you're imagining, so let me just share. I know that most of us or all of us have different experiences because we come from different places, as I've noticed. All over the Philippines, almost meron tayong mga guests dito. Also, our professions are different. Siyempre, we also miss different activities before the pandemic. So, iba-iba yung mga experiences natin. Siguro kaya iba rin yung nai-imagine natin, di ba? But I'm certain that almost all of us are wishing and hoping that we can go back to normal in the near future. Right? So habang wala pa, let me share with you guys some things that I've noticed when I compare yung current situation natin dun sa situation natin before in terms of getting to work. So sa routines natin, sobrang iba yung mga routines natin before going to work at saka routines natin ngayon tsaka dati. So let me show you guys a short clip. So para malaman nyo what I'm talking about. One moment.
Hey, John, sorry about that. There's a delay in the poll. I believe the poll has been shared.
Yep. I think our poll was supposed to be showed later, but are we able to share the poll again later?
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Bob. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so here's our short clip. Okay. So if you've noticed dun sa clip natin, it seemed that working from home is more comfortable than going to the office or school, right? Obviously, it's easier to get to work when you're at home compared to get to work when you're really going to the office or school. Kasi when you're at home, it's easier. Andyan lang yung workstation mo malapit sa'yo. Konting lakad lang. So you still get to have a chance to do other stuff instead of going sa pagko-commute or pag-aabang ng masasakyan na Grab or taxi or whatever when you're going to school or office. So this is in terms of getting to work. But how about the actual work itself? Can we say that working from home gives us a great advantage too? Let me help you imagine. So this is a typical home and office setup. Right? If you notice, sa bahay, yung mga kasama mo, maybe your children, relatives, while at the office or school, you have your office mates, your boss, maybe your students or co-teachers if you're a teacher. So medyo iba yung setup natin sa office and school. But most definitely, yung mga ginagamit natin or tools natin would be the same. But there are still differences dun sa nangyayari sa office at school while we're working. So let me state some of those. First is when you're at the office, you have limited social media or environmental distraction. So di tayo masyadong nakakapag-browse ng social media. Wala ring distraction in the environment like mga manok na tumitilaok in the background while you're having a meeting, your children crying in the background. So medyo mas tahimik when we're at the office. Sa office din or sa school, hindi tayo masyadong nakakapag non-work because we have a boss. Nandun lang siya, nagbabantay. So they're monitoring us, what they're doing. Compared to at home, no one's watching over us and then we can do anything, diba? Another difference in terms of security and things that we use in the office and home is internet connection or network. When we're at the office, our internet connection is high speed. So, wala tayong ma-experience or most of the time, walang masyadong interruption in our internet connection. Also, our network is secured. We have IT that are securing our network and maintaining the security of the network in the office the whole time. While at home, we have limited internet connection speed, and I'm not sure if you're setting up security measures at your home in terms of network security. Unless meron tayong sarili nating IT team sa bahay na nagmamanage ng security natin sa network. Right? Or if we have a relative na nagsiset up ng security. But most of the time, no. Another is a workstation. So, yung workstation natin sa office is definitely secured. Kasi as mentioned, meron nga tayong ID team that manages it and making sure that it's secured. While at home, we have limited device capability. Unless your device has been provided to you by the company or your school to use, most of the time meron na yung mga security measures in place or security software na naka-install. But if you're using a personal device, which is most of us are using right now, I believe so. So, medyo limited yung security na nakukuha ng devices natin. Another one is information security policy management. So the data that we handle in the office or school, meron tayong team na nagmamanage nun in making sure that these data are secured. Compared to the working from home, wala tayong ganitong klaseng team unless meron tayong hinire na mga information security officers to manage the data that we handle. But most of the time, sa bahay, we just store it. We're using it at home, pero we're not thinking about how to secure it while we're working from home. Right? So if you'll notice, most compared to the clip that I've showed you earlier, yung advantages ng working from home and working at the office, karamihan nandun sa working from home, di ba? So getting to work, mas okay, mas comfortable. But in this aspect, security, devices that we're using, most of the advantages nandito sa office or school, right? But here, let me show you one advantage para naman sa mga team bahay natin dyan. Baka sabihin nyo, lagi na lang office or school yung merong advantage. So, meron din namang advantage yung working from home when doing the actual work. This one. So, I think most of us would agree na isang advantage to sa atin. So, you can do business on top and comfy on the bottom. So, you can wear formal clothes on your top. You can wear a polo, blouse. You can even wear necktie. But at the bottom, dun sa part na hindi na nakikita ng camera, we can wear anything, pajamas, short pants, right? So, we can still work from home, but comfortably work from home, diba? Kidding aside, having said that working from office or school gives us an advantage, we can still work on improving our home security setup, syempre. Hindi naman tayo papayag na dahil ganyan nga yung current situation, hayaan na lang natin. Syempre, no. This webinar, we are looking forward that it can help you at least get at par with what is the security that we are experiencing in the office. So our security measures in the office will help you at least get the basic security that we need when you're working from home, so to be able to secure the data or handle the data that you manage properly. So in this differences that I've noted down, the environmental or virtual distraction, this one I believe we have control over. Meaning, kayang-kaya natin siya i-resolve by ourselves. So I'll be leaving that for you to resolve. I'll be focusing on these three. Yan. Device security, your network security, and information management. Okay, so for these three, gagawa natin ng paraan kung paano nga ba natin at least maipapantay yung security natin when we're working from home. I know most of you are asking, why do we even need security? Bakit nga ba? Work from home naman tayo ngayon. After ng work from home, when we go back to the office, pwede naman na nating i-secure yung mga data na hinahandle natin. What if yung COVID-19 pandemic, hindi pa siya mag-end soon? What if it can be extended up to the end of the year, up to early next year? We don't know yet. No one knows what will happen, right? So, do we still need to wait for that time bago natin i-try to secure yung environment natin at home and the data that we're managing? I believe not, right? Because we still need to do security. First reason is you're doing the same work that you do in the office and the same work that you do at home. Meaning, if you're handling important information in the office or school, you're also handling or definitely handling important information when you work from home. So without the security, what do you think will happen to these data or important information? Wala na, makukuha na siya, di ba? So, to help you have an idea, let me give you some examples of possible threats that you may encounter at home when you leave it unsecured. So devices threats. So whatever devices are we using to do our work when we're at home, may it be a PC, a laptop, or a mobile phone, a tablet. So yung mga devices na to, hindi sila ligtas sa mga threats that may attack them. So one example is phishing. So phishing, hindi to yung pangingisda, but phishing, this is a type of threat that can trick users into clicking on malicious link or downloading or opening malicious attachments. So pag kinlik natin yung mga link na to sa mga malicious email na masasend natin, they can take us to a convincing looking login page. So I noticed some of our attendees today, they've mentioned they are teachers from public school. So I know most of you, if you're a government employee, you're aware of land bank. So yung mga iba dyan gumagamit ng land bank website to check their land bank account. Say, our payroll in the government goes to land bank. So for example, land bank, may nag-email sa'yo saying that your loan has been approved. Okay, please check how much is the loan amount approved. So you click on the link, akala mo land bank yun, and then it asks for your username and password. Syempre, need mo mag-log in for you to see magkano nga ba yung loan na nakuha mo from land bank. So when we check it, since it's phishing email, is one type of a threat. So instead of logging into the correct land bank site, you may be logging into a fraudulent site of land bank. So yung attackers, since binigay mo na yung username and password, they already got your information. So yung username and password mo, sila na ngayon yung magta-try out nito dun sa actual na land bank site, leaving your bank account compromised, di ba? Next, initiate a malware download. So when you click on the link, it can immediately download a malware and infect not just your machine, but your entire office or school's network. Since if you're working from home, you're connected to the office network or school network. So pag na-infect yung network mo, malamang sa malamang infected na din yung network sa school. Next type of threat is credential stuffing. Medyo technical yung term, but let me explain to you what it does. So this type of threat can hijack your cloud accounts. So what they do is they use previously breached username and password combination. So if merong site na na-breach na before, then kunyari email provider. So nakuha nila yung username or email address and password mo dun sa email provider site na yon. And then merong mga ibang websites and apps na nananahimik, hindi naman na-breach, but since you're using the same password and username that you use on your email to those other websites, pwede ring ma-compromise yung account mo dun sa mga ibang websites or apps. Right now, cybercriminals are targeting cloud platforms for collaboration and productivity. Examples of these are Microsoft Teams, Zoom. Most of us are using these to communicate with our office mates or with our students. So cybercriminals are highly motivated na i-attack to because these are common apps that we use in working from home situation. Another type of threat is malicious smartphone apps. So if may nagsabi sa'yo na yung mga smartphone or mga cellphone hindi yan nai-infect ng virus, mali po yun. A smartphone can also be infected by a virus or a malware. One example, there are malicious apps that are disguised as a COVID-19 tracker. So very timely, di ba? So ikaw as a curious individual, syempre you want to know more about COVID-19. So meron mga naglalabasang websites you can check, apps that you can install. So this is an example. This is the actual app, by the way, na malicious. So it can give you promising features like this one. Activate lock screen to get instant alert when a coronavirus patient is near you. Nakaka-tempt, di ba? So pag merong positive, kunyari sa barangay nyo, ma-alert ka. Sino ba naman yung hindi gusto ng ganong type of feature sa isang app? However, para makuha mo yan, need mo munang i-grant yung mga permissions dun sa app na yon. So, access your lock screen, access your accessibility. So you have to allow the permission. Then you click on scan area for coronavirus. Instead of performing kung ano yung promise niya na ipe-perform, it can do something different on your device. One is it can infect your device with ransomware. As mentioned, ransomware para siyang kinidnap niya yung phone mo or yung mga files mo sa phone or device. So, it can lock you out from your mobile device. So, kapag na-infect ka ng ransomware, possible na hindi mo magamit yung phone mo or hindi mo ma-open yung mga files mo unless you pay a ransom. Info stealer. So, whatever information you have on your phone, pwede nila yung kuhanin. Also, it can spread to the targeted network. So, they may target your home network. So, they want to get information from your home. And since we're working from home and we're connected to the office network or school network as well, they may also spread to your home net or your office network or school network. Okay, so next is network threats. So ito naman, hindi na sa devices but on your entire network at home. Meron ding mga threats that can infect those. One is a DNS-related threat. DNS, by the way, means domain name system. So it translates domain names to IP addresses so browsers can load internet resources. So in layman's term, your DNS is just like the phone book of your computer. So yung computer mo, they don't recognize yung name, but they recognize IP address. So for example, you type in google.com, si DNS, it routes it or translate it to an IP address para yun yung puntahan ng computer. So, comparing it to the phone book, so if you have a contact name, you match it to a specific phone number or mobile number, di ba? So, ganun din yung ginagawa ni DNS. When changing DNS server settings on an infected device, ito yung possible na mangyari. It can route the traffic through malicious servers and steal sensitive data. So instead of going to the correct server, pwede siyang ma-reroute to the server managed by cybercriminals. So yung data mo na nandun, dun siya isa-submit sa server ng cybercriminals. And then, it can attack your network already. So now that we know all the possible threats, it's also important for us to know which data can be acquired by these cybercriminals. So alam natin na ngayon yung mga threats na pwedeng maka-attack sa network natin or sa devices natin. Pero pag na-attack nga ba nito, ano ba yung mga data na makukuha nila from these devices and these network? So here I have two types of information. One is personal information. So these are data that can be used to directly identify or indirectly identify a person. Example, your name, photo, location, your email address, your device IP address. The other type is what we call sensitive personal information. So these are personal data revealing your racial or ethnic region, your beliefs, your political opinions, medical information, bank details, data concerning your health or sex life, genetic data, and biometric data. So we're pretty sure that most of your or almost all of your devices contain this information. Kasi almost everything ginagawa na natin siya sa mga devices natin, PC, mobile, right? So remember, if your devices or your network is attacked, it's not just your data, but also your students' data can be compromised. So, pwede ring ma-compromise lahat ng mga info, hindi lang natin, but other people's info na nandun sa devices natin if we got infected. So, what do we do or what do we need to do to protect them? I'll be giving you some tips on how to protect these data in the device and network level. So, first, we have to ensure that the devices that we use for working from home are secured or are equipped with anti-malware application. In the Philippines, it's most commonly known as antivirus. Anti-malware, antivirus. So whatever it is, basta we have to secure our devices. So in the market, we have available anti-malware application. Merong paid, meron ding free. If your device has been issued to you by your company or school, most probably it already has an anti-malware application installed and the subscription is being paid for by your company. So, swerte nyo. But for those who are using personal devices, malamang wala pa yung security application na naka-install or naka-enable. So, we have several antivirus available right now or in the market. So one example is Trend Micro. Trend Micro offers protection for your devices or consumer devices. So we have protection for PC, your Mac, Android, and iOS. So like Trend Micro, almost all of the security applications or anti-malware applications offer a 30-day trial period for free. So you can download the app, try out for 30 days. And then when the trial period is over, you have an option to upgrade to the full version or paid version. So you could experience all of the features of the apps. Or if you don't have a budget or your institution did not provide a budget in installing an anti-malware application, there are also available apps that are free. One common example is Windows Defender. So if you're using a Windows PC or laptop, It has Windows Defender pre-installed in it. You can just enable it. When you're using a mobile device, Android or iOS device, when you check on the Play Store, there are free anti-malware applications. Most of the time, the provider of your phone or manufacturer already have a built-in anti-malware application installed. What you just have to do is enable it. Sometimes kasi naka-disable siya. Right. But as mentioned, Trend Micro is also offering security software for your devices. I believe right now we extended the free trial period from 30 days to 6 months. So if you're interested in installing, you can go ahead and Google Trend Micro Security, download it and install it on your device. Another type or way to secure your devices and your network is use a strong password on all your devices and accounts. So it's very important na yung password natin is talagang pinag-isipan and secure. So meron akong mga tips here how to make sure that our password is strong. One is, don't use common or easily guessed passwords. So yung mga napapanood natin sa pelikula, yung safe ng mga mayayaman na parents, most of the time, ang password ng safe ay birthday ng anak nila or their birthday. Yung mga ganong type of passwords, common yon and can easily be guessed. So let's avoid that. Another is, we need to include at least 12 characters. So mas mahaba yung password, mas mahirap siyang hulaan. Next, consider using an acronym. So one example of this, for example, your favorite song is Nothing's Gonna Change My Love for You. So the title of the song, you can take out the first letter of each word in the title and make it as your password. Medyo mahirap yung hulaan. But be careful because kung favorite mo yung kantang yun at maraming nakakaalam na favorite mo yun, others may think na yun yung password mo. The next step is don't use obvious information. It's obvious that it's your password kasi favorite song mo siya. Another, don't store your passwords. So most of us, lalo na dun sa mga medyo madaling makalimot, akala natin it's okay to save our password. Some are saving it physically, so sinusulat nila sa mga notebook or notepad. Some are even saving it in their devices. So meron sa notepad mo, nakasave sa desktop ang pangalan, my passwords. So yung cybercriminals, we're already doing them a favor. Pag nahack nila yung PC mo, hindi nila need manghula kung ano yung mga passwords mo. You already gave it to them. Sobrang dali, di ba? And of course, please avoid using one of these 25 most popular passwords in the world. So, ayan, mga popular passwords pala na ginagamit is password, numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kasi mas madali yun mas matatandaan natin siya. Pero kung natatandaan mo siya, mas madali din siyang matandaan ng cybercriminals. So, welcome, hello, I love you, yung mga ganyan. So ito, yung password, na-spell pa niya with 0. So we thought that it's already secured to replace a letter with a number. Pero hindi. So please take note of this para if we're creating passwords for all our accounts and devices, we make sure that it's strong. Another way to secure your network and your devices is of course to secure your router. Did you know that from Trend Micro Research, this is 2019 research, the most vulnerable device by device type is the router. Yes, opo, mga kababayan, router po ang pinaka-vulnerable na device. Not our laptops, not our mobile devices or PC, but the router. Why? Because most of you or most of us tend to neglect na need natin ang security sa router natin. Ay, yung router, hindi naman natin yan nilalagyan ng kahit ano, hindi naman tayo nagtatype dyan ng kung ano-ano, so okay lang na hindi siya secured. No, because router, actually, yan yung isa sa mga pinaka-important na device sa bahay mo na kailangan ng security. Why? Because all of your devices at home connects to your router. So when your router is not secured, most likely all your devices won't be secured as well. So some tips or ways to secure your router. If you're using your router to set up a Wi-Fi, so you should set up a Wi-Fi password. Also, you should change the username and password, yung default of the router admin console. So different routers also have different ways on how to access the router admin console. So you can just check online the brand of your router and the model, and then check how are you going to access the router admin console. So to get into it, merong mga naka-assign na default username and password. Kadalasan yan admin. So yung mga yon, default yan. Known yan to all. So cybercriminals, most likely, alam din nila yan. So if you did not change the default username and password, mas madaling makaka-penetrate inside your network yung mga cybercriminals. So it's very important for us to change the default username and password. Another is we have to update our router's firmware. How to do it? It will also be available on your router manual or in the router admin console. Okay, so we now know how to secure our devices and networks from threats. But I'd like to ask you a question. So Bob, can you help me show or release a polling question?
Sure.
Okay.
We relaunch the poll again. So
Yes.
everyone, you have about 15 seconds to answer.
Thank you, Bob. So as Bob mentioned, 15 seconds to answer this question. So while they're answering, Bob, what do you think? If you're part of our audience right now, what do you think is the answer? Are these enough?
Honestly, no. If there's other ways, perhaps. Well, yeah, I believe no. There should be more.
Okay. 15 seconds is up, so let's now release the poll results. Okay, most of our attendees answered yes. 51% said that yes, these security measures are enough. But I can also see some attendees answering no, and I'm not sure. Let's see if this are enough indeed. So let me help you imagine. Here's your home network or home work from home setup. I put here a red circle outside the home network because from our discussion earlier, sorry, you already secured your home network. So you have your security measures in place. You installed antivirus applications on your devices. You already used strong passwords in all your accounts and devices as well. You secured your router, changed the default username and password. So most definitely, your home network is already secured, and the attackers would have a difficulty in accessing your data inside your home network. But let me make it more interesting. I'll be showing you some logos of you're familiar with. So one, Google, your search engine. Amazon, your smart devices manufacturer. Linksys, your router brand. Your device manufacturers or brands of devices that you're using. Social networking sites. Applications you install on your devices. Financial sites or shopping sites. Familiar naman po tayo with these brands, di ba? So, if you'll notice, yung information na tinatry ng cybercriminals to steal from our network or device, those same information, we already gave it to these companies or to these brands. Example, BDO. So to avail of BDO services, we have to give them information like our name, our bank information. So can we open an account in BDO without giving them our name? Baka hindi, di ba? So, meron kang account sa BDO pero i-restrict mo si BDO from viewing or accessing your bank account details like your the money available in your account. So, pwede ba yun? Siyempre, hindi, di ba? So, all of these brands or organizations have our data. because we need to give them the data to be able to avail of the services that they offer. But, so syempre tayo, nagpapakahirap tayo to secure our data. How do we make sure as well that these companies protect the data that we entrust them? Here, let me share with you that we don't have to worry because there are Data or Privacy Protection Act in place or available and implemented in the different parts of the world. So the Data or Privacy Protection Act aims to protect individual personal information in the information and communication systems. So some example of those are first one, GDPR or General Data Protection Regulation. This is being implemented in the European Union or European countries. So Europeans are experiencing or being data of Europeans are being managed by GDPR. Next, in Japan, they have what they call Act on Protection of Personal Information. In Korea, they have PIPA, Personal Information Protection Act. In California, they have what they call Consumer Privacy Act. And of course, in the Philippines, the National Privacy Commission makes sure that we are protected. So in the Philippines, we have what we call the Data Privacy Act of 2012 or Republic Act 10173. This protects our rights to privacy and regulate the processing of all personal information of people residing in the Philippines who are protected by this Data Privacy Act of 2012. So it protects people whose personal information is collected, stored, and processed. And those who should comply with it are organizations who deal with or handle these personal information. So yung mga pinoprotect ng Data Privacy Act are called data subjects, while yung organizations that comply with it are called personal information collectors. So since we are all residents of the Philippines, we're all data subjects kasi meron tayong mga data na kinokollect and sinustore ng different organizations. And at the same time, our teachers are also personal information controllers kasi we manage or handle personal information of our students. Under the Data Privacy Act of 2012, we have 8 data privacy rights. So I'll be discussing it to you one by one. First one is the right to be informed. So if your data or personal data will be collected, processed, or stored, you have the right to be informed about it. So kung gagamitin yan or kung saan gagamitin and paano gagamitin yung data mo, kailangan na-approve mo rin siya or nakapag-agree ka din. Example of this is, kunyari nagko-consult ka sa isang doctor sa isang hospital and then si doctor suddenly ni-record niya yung conversation nyo about your illness. So nag-record siya, nag-start siya ng maybe a video recording or audio recording, and then hindi siya nag-ask ng permission from you na i-record niya yon. So the doctor may use it for not a malicious purpose but for just a record, maybe para maalala ng doctor kung ano yung mga pinag-usapan nyo. The purpose is good, but he did not ask permission from you. So this clearly violates your right to be informed. The next one is the right to access. So as a data subject, you have the right to gain reasonable access to your personal information being held by any organization. One example, kunyari, umuwi ka, na-realize mo, nawawala yung phone mo. So the last thing you remember, you dined in a restaurant in Manila. So what you did is you requested for an access to the CCTV footage of that restaurant to help you identify or para malaman mo ano bang nangyari, paano ba nawala yung phone mo. Nanakaw ba siya, nalaglag ba siya, or and others. So lahat ng yon pwede mong makita sa CCTV footage. But the restaurant refused to give you a copy of the CCTV footage. So that also clearly violates your right to access. Kasi yung personal data or yung CCTV footage, personal data mo pa rin yung nandun. Kasi nandun yung video recording mo. Ano ba yung whereabouts mo on that day and time of day. However, itong right to access, there are also circumstances or times na pwede siyang hindi ma-approved because sometimes if your exercise the way you exercise your right to access may intervene with a current criminal investigation, for example. So if there are other laws na pwedeng maka-override dun sa right to access mo, possible na hindi siya mag-grant. Number 3 is the right to object. So you have the right to refuse or object on personal data processing without your consent for other purposes like marketing, profiling, or data mining. So if most of you have experienced formatting your device or setting up a new device, meron tayong checkbox doon na nakalagay, share your information to us if ever you encounter issues. So meron dong checkbox. As a data subject, you have an option to uncheck it. So I don't want to share with you yung mga activities ko. Pwede siya. So that clearly is exercising your right to object. Next is the right to erasure or blocking. So you have the right to suspend, withdraw, or order the blocking or removal of your personal data. If you feel that the data that you provide to the organization is no longer needed, or no longer needed for the services that you have availed, then you have the right to have it erased or removed. Next, the right to damages. So you have the right to claim compensation for damages caused by the violation of your privacy rights. So example, nagkaroon ng breach sa isang bank na meron kang account, and then the company failed to inform you na na-compromise yung mga accounts, and account mo is one of those that have been compromised. Na-realize mo lang siya nung nakita mo yung bank account mo, wala nang laman, empty na. Diba? So your bank did not inform you na merong ganitong breach. So since nawalan ka ng pera, you have the right to claim compensation or the right to damages. Next is the right to file a complaint. This goes with other data privacy rights. So if you feel that those have been violated, you can file a complaint. Next is the right to rectify. So you have the right to request to modify the inaccuracy or error of your personal data. So example, I know most of you here are familiar with GSIS or Government Service Insurance Systems. Right? So ito yung mga nagpapapension sa atin, sa government employees when we reach the required age. So sa GSIS, 60 is yung required age. So pag 60 years old ka na, pwede ka nang makatanggap ng pension. So example, sa GSIS, ang birthday mo na nakalagay doon is June 30, 1959. So by 2019, makaka-receive ka na ng pension. However, your birth certificate says that your birth date is not 1959. It is 1952. So, 7 years ago or 2012, dapat pala nagpe-pension ka na. But yung information mo sa GSIS is different. So, almost 7 years na wala kang pension. So, medyo lugi ka doon. Right? So, you have the right to request for rectification or modification of this important data. Next, the right to data portability. So you have the right to obtain, move, copy, or transfer your data in a secure manner. Example, meron kang current na consultation sa isang doctor in this hospital and you want to get a second opinion. So pupunta ka sa ibang hospital, pwede sa US or other hospitals na medyo mas malayo sa current location mo. Then you have the right to request for the copy of your current diagnosis or yung mga lab tests. Especially mga lab tests, medyo mahal yan. Nakapagpa-lab test ka na sa isang hospital. So you have the right to have a copy of the results of that lab test and forward it or provide it to the second hospital you want to do the consultation to. So again, these are your data privacy rights. So you have the right to be informed, the right to access, the right to object, the right to erasure or blocking, the right to damages, the right to file a complaint, the right to rectify, and the right to data portability. Now, having mentioned these 8 rights, I again want to ask you a question. So Bob, can you please help release the polling question again?
Sure, here you go.
Okay, the question is, Do you think PICs comply with the Data Privacy Act of 2012? PIC again is Personal Information Controller, or yung organization that handles your data. You have 15 seconds to answer this poll. So while you're answering, Bob, what do you think? Are these companies complying?
Honestly, I believe most of them are. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
Yep. Well, 15 seconds is over. Thank you for your answer, Bob. So here's the result. Okay, 50% answered yes. They think that PICs are complying with the Data Privacy Act. Some still said no, and I'm not sure. Well, of course, they should comply. Because if they do not comply, there will be corresponding legal consequences. Kasi batas na siya eh. So it's very important for all of the companies or organization to comply with the Data Privacy Act. Even Trend Macro is complying with it because we handle millions of data, right? But let me show you na nagko-comply talaga sila. There are companies or organizations in my example that comply or do some measures to comply with the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Here you go. Anyone familiar with this icon? It's a shopping bag, right? Or some of you may not be familiar with it because in most of the online shopping sites, they're using shopping carts. I just cannot see a GIF that can do this one, open and close the shopping cart. So bag is the one that's opening and closing. So I use shopping bag instead. But the idea is the online shopping. So I did not put here any logo or specific company name because most of the companies right now have online shopping sites available. So when we're doing online shopping, if we want to order an item, the site or the app asks for our email, name, and password because we need it to log into our accounts. But complying to the Data Privacy Act of 2012, some sites give us an option to continue as guest. So the right to object. So we have the right to refuse giving out this information. That's why we can still continue to order by choosing continue as guest. Another information, address or location. So if you want to order something, you have to provide your address or location. Lalo na kung delivery siya. I-deliver siya sa bahay mo or sa office mo. You need to provide your address or location. But since you have the right to object to provide this, you can still continue ordering, but you can select meet up or pick up. So merong mga online shopping sites na nagsiset up sila ng pick up location. I believe Lazada has SM. You can pick up your items from SM, Shopee, or Facebook Marketplace. They also have LBC. Pwedeng sa LBC siya ipadala and pick it up from LBC. Another is credit card information. So if you'll be ordering something, of course, you would need to pay. Especially right now, we promote cashless payments. So you can either put in your credit card information or bank account details. But, of course, if ayaw mo or wala ka ng mga ganitong info, you can opt to cash on delivery or COD. Right now, meron na ring COP or cash on pick up. So kung pinili mo yung pick up, you can pay in cash pag ipipick up mo na yung item. So these measures, dati walang ganito. Kailangan mo mag-create ng account. Diba? But with the Data Privacy Act of 2012, they are giving the customers options in case these customers want to protect the privacy of their data. Next, a very popular one is Google. So if there are people here that are using Android devices, so Google is actually restricting which apps can request call log or SMS permissions. So Google restricted this one dun pa lang sa point na yung mga app developer magsasubmit ng app nila. Say for example, you are a developer of a photo editing app. So si Google, ika-question niya if need mong mag-access ng call log or SMS permission. So nakalagay dun sa app mo, for you to be able to use the app, you need to permit call log history access or SMS access. Bakit? yung app mo is a photo editing app. Um, why in the world would you need an access to call history? Kailangan mo ba malaman yung mga number na tinawagan bago makapag-edit ng app yung user? Or sorry, edit ng photo yung user. Need ba ng access to SMS para makapag-edit ng photo? Definitely not. So si Google medyo naghigpit siya sa mga ganong types of permission that these apps are requesting. So Google is protecting our data. So good job si Google done. Another brand or sites and organization, Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook and Instagram gives you the right to data portability. So they give you the right to access your data as well. So sa Facebook, lahat ng mga information na meron si Facebook, even yung pinakauna mong post nung nag-open ka ng Facebook account, you can download it. So you just have to go to the Facebook settings page, look for your Facebook information, select download your information, and makukuha mo na yung data. In Instagram, you can go to profile and tap the menu icon, tap settings, select privacy and security, and download your data. So, clearly, itong two companies na to, binibigyan niya tayo ng way para makuha kung ano man yung information na hinahawakan ni Facebook sa atin. So, good job then si Facebook and Instagram in that. And there are different measures na ginagawa ng mga different organizations handling our data. So, having shared with you this information, my call to action is for everyone to have awareness. I think by this time, you're already aware of what are the possible threats that may infect our network and our devices. And what are the things that we can do to secure them or to be at par with the security that we have in the office? You're also already aware that it's not just the cybercriminals that can get into our data, but also other organizations. But we don't have to worry because we are being protected by the Data Privacy Act of 2012 here in the Philippines. So us or you as data subjects and PICs or personal information controllers at the same time have the responsibility to know these rights, exercise it, and make sure that we comply with it as we manage the information. So that's it. Here are my resources for today's webinar. So you can check out these websites to know more information about what I've discussed to you in this morning. So Bob, I'm now open for Q&A.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonah. That was a very, very informative and successful webinar that you just presented. I myself learned a lot. And let me now just share my screen. Okay. All right, so we're now in our Q&A portion, and I just want to remind everyone we have about 2 minutes till 11. But since there are a lot of questions, we will do our best to cater to them. If you notice, we are also answering questions. Our panelists and our subject matter experts have been very busy answering the other questions as well. Okay, so let's go through the questions, and the first question with the most upvotes is from Harold. Since majority of the avenue for work and learning is via online due to this health crisis, what could be initial considerations we have to take in engaging online apps and activities that requires our data like photo of our ID and other personal information? Thank you.
Thank you, Harold, for the question. So as I've discussed earlier, there are apps or websites that may trick us or get information from us, right, without us knowing that it's safe or not. But my suggestion, especially when it comes to apps, is for you to check first if the permissions they're requesting from your devices is just about right for the services that you want to avail from them. So in my example earlier, if it's a photo editing app, you have to check kung ano nga ba yung permission na kinukuha niya from your device. Need ba niya to access your call log history, diba? So for example, yung photo editing app, baka medyo magtaka kayo, re-request siya to access yung storage mo. It's just about right because for them to view the photos or get the photos you want to edit, they need to have access to your storage. Pero meron din naman na magtataka ka bakit sila nanghihingi ng access sa storage mo, hindi naman nila need yon. Parang hindi naman nila need kumuha ng anything from your device. So you have to make sure na pantay lang or tama lang yung mga nire-request na permission before we use the app or before we approve the permissions. Ang downside lang nun, if we refuse or we chose not to provide permissions to these apps, is baka hindi natin magamit yung specific features. Like for example, if you don't give them access to your camera, pag magte-take ka ng camera or ng picture using the camera in that app, baka hindi ka ma-allow kasi hindi mo inallow yung permissions. So, yun lang.
Okay, and I hope Jonna was able to answer your question. All right, and the next question is, what practices or activities would count as sound information security practices?
Hi, Bob. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What practices or activities would count as sound information security practices? This question is from Meryl Wong.
Sound information?
Hi, Bob. This is Myla. Can I chime in?
Hi, Myla. Please do.
Yeah. Maybe to supplement what Jonna mentioned kanina about application is that a sound information security practices, number one is, I think it is non-negotiable ngayon that you really have to have security solution. And Jonna has articulated it very well. Second is that, remember, whatever you do online, whatever you put online will stay there forever. So meaning to say, what kind of information you have to put in. You always have to ask yourself the fundamental question. What kind of information do they require from me? Is this really important in the transaction that I am making? For instance, kung bangko, pero hinihingan ka ng driver's license, then you ask yourself, definitely there's no correlation. And third is how and why they will use this information, right? So those are very basic na, I guess, things that you have to ask yourselves every time you figure into it. And then second is the fact that it is okay for us to be unsure. Even us in the security industry, we are also unsure. So this is where you seek help, diba? Look at the websites where probably they have been reported scams like this. A most recent one is, I will not name the bank, but there is a famous bank right now that you can do everything online. You don't have to queue. So ginagawa sila ngayong more topical na example of online banking scams. So be aware, just go read ano ba yung mga bago. So these are, just some of the more logical or mga practical siguro mga advices that we do have. And then, as I said, is that there are specific, strictly information that you are not allowed to share. We will give you a link into what are those classified, what we call PII, personal identification, identifiable information. So at any given time, you should not provide them. A good example of this is your SSS number or the much talk about PhilHealth number right now. You are not supposed to give that away, right? Okay. Hopefully that helps. Salamat.
Thank you, Myla, for giving us your insights. The next question is, how do we report malicious attackers locally? If that's coming from Cesar. Jonna, are you? Okay,
Yep,
there you
I'm
are.
here. Yep.
Okay.
So for malicious attackers, I'm not sure if what do you mean by malicious attackers, but are reporting the malicious attackers. But when it comes to violating your data privacy rights, so you can file for a complaint or report it to the National Privacy Commission. So you can check in my resources list. There is a website there for National Privacy Commission. There are ways or instructions there on how we can file a complaint or report someone that's trying to violate your rights.
Okay. Thank you. Next question is, are there any reliable apps or platforms to determine our safety? That's from Harold.
Safety in terms of scanning if your device or network is secured. If that's the question, then definitely the anti-malware applications would make sure that your device is secured or free from any form of threats. So if you have these ones installed in your devices, then you can make sure that your devices are well protected. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you, Jonah. Guys, just as a reminder, we are doing our best to answer all your questions, and of course, our subject matter experts are also answering them as fast as they can. We're 5 minutes over, and we can extend for just 5 more minutes. So we will try our best to answer all the questions. So the next question is, okay, let me just. All right. There are free webinars that require credit card numbers, expiry date, etc. Are these questions allowed?
Credit card numbers, I think they are requiring it if that webinar is paid. But if it's for free, I don't think we need to provide such information. But you can always try to check the end user license agreement. So they have that in place when you're joining a webinar or before you put in your credit card information. If, as mentioned by Ms. Myla, you have to think first if the information they're requiring is needed for you to avail of the services that they're trying to offer you.
Thank you, Jonah. Next question is, how can we protect our contact numbers from online loan apps? Because they can access our contacts even if we don't permit or allow them.
Yep, I remember meron ngang mga ganun. But the way that they got access to those contacts or yung mga contact details mo, you have to check again ano ba yung mga info na provide mo sa kanila. Possible na if it's an app and nag-request siya ng access sa phone book mo, definitely ma-access na yun. So yun nga, yung sinasabi ko kanina, if this is an app on your device, meron kang mga permission na i-allow. So, possible na inallow mo sila to access your phone book apps, kaya na-access nila. But as mentioned, if i-try mo na i-disable yon or if you won't allow the app to access your contact, so baka hindi rin ma-approve yung loan mo or hindi ka rin nila mabigyan ng service.
Okay. Thank you, Jonah. Next question is there, okay, let me just scroll really quick. What could be the possible threats for Mac, MacBook, and iPhone? Because this is from Noralyn, and because she said na from what she knows, hindi po naba-virus ang Mac, or has that already changed?
Yeah, actually, Apple already has good security measures in place dun sa devices nila. But there are still times, so talking about Mac security or Mac threats, meron pa ring mga Mac devices na infect, especially since sa Mac computer mo, most of na ginagawa mo dun is online. So, siguro physically dun sa malware device, if you're working on your Mac device, offline lang, possible na walang maging infection. But if you connect it to the internet, there are a lot of threats in the internet. So for example, ransomware. We already have reported cases of ransomware in a Mac device, especially dun sa browser na naka-install sa Mac device. So possible pa rin na ma-infect yung mga Mac devices. Hindi nga lang kasing dalas nung infection na meron sa Windows. But since we also have security applications available to secure our Mac devices and iOS devices. So, possible pa rin siya, kahit minimal lang.
Okay, thank you, Jonah.
Thank you.
Next, what if a company rejected your request to see their CCTV? Can I file a certain complaint?
Oh, yes. As mentioned, pwede pong mag-file ng complaint through the National Privacy Commission. So the National Privacy Commission website gives you instructions on how you can file a complaint if you feel that your rights have been violated. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, so we have 1 minute on the clock. We can answer just one last question. Let me just go through the questions here. Okay. Is phishing or SMS phishing very rampant right now? Are the telcos the right parties to take responsibility for this?
Actually, it's very rampant. I heard from some news or articles online that they're already using scam or SMS phishing or scam to trick or makapag-scam ng mga online buyers, yung mga buyer natin online. So, for example, they already trying to use it para maloko ka na, for example, merong mga nagpapanggap na buyer and isa kang seller, they're sending out SMS scams to you saying that they already paid yung mga services na ino-offer mo. So, without you knowing na scam pala yun. Or pinifish ka lang pala niya na or tinitrick ka niya na na-pay, nabayaran niya na yung mga um, orders niya sa'yo. Parang ganun. So, very rampant siya. Even ngayon, actually, tinatry na nilang gamitin yung a specific bank name. So, pwede na rin silang magbago ng sender, yung sender mo. Sender na makikita mo sa phone. Kasi minsan sa phone makikita mo, pag iba number lang yung sender, most likely malicious yan. Pero some are already using legitimate names as sender. Or for example, your bank account or your bank provider, meron na siya.
Okay. Thank you, John. I'm actually learning with the answers that you're giving. I didn't know any of these things until I heard them now. So they're very informative. And thank you for your questions, everyone. So we have time to squeeze in one last question coming from Facebook. By the way, we're also broadcasted Facebook Live, and we also like to say hi to everyone who's watching from Facebook. So the question is, can you name some signs if the devices are infected?
Alright, so signs na infected ang devices. One sign is merong mga pop-ups na unusual pop-ups on your device. Most likely, nakapag-download na yan ng mga adware. Also, sluggish or slow performance of your PC. Possible na in the back end, merong naka-install na nagko-consume ng resources sa PC mo. And what else? Sometimes they also install fake applications. So, nagpapanggap na security software, sasabihin na may mali sa PC mo, where in fact, yung naka-install na app na yon, yun talaga yung malware or yung infection. So, these are just some of the symptoms. So, I hope I was able to answer. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so much, Jonna. And everyone, that's the time for us. As mentioned, we tried our best to answer all your questions, but that's it for our time. So thank you again, Jonna, and our subject matter experts for that informative and also for answering the questions and that awesome presentation. I'd like to remind everyone that our next webinar topic would be staying productive while working from home. This will be on August 20th, 2020. Same time, 10 to 11 a.m. You can also take a snapshot of this QR code, as you can see on the screen, to go straight to our survey. And please be reminded that if you want to get that certificate of attendance, you need to take that survey. And your feedback, again, is very valuable to us. Please visit our Facebook pages at Trend Micro Careers Philippines and click right PH for additional announcements. And again, the key takeaways for this session and access to the recording would also be posted there. Please like and follow these pages to stay updated. So on behalf of Trend Micro and our speaker, Jonna, have a wonderful day, everyone. Remember to answer the survey and keep safe. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.